Ferragamo back to pass again. Throws into the end zone. Picked off. Sam Washington.
Sam Washington was the man that was beaten on the long pass to Drew Hill. He makes amends right here as Ferragamo does not see him coming from the inside. Watch him break on the ball. Sam Washington right here, not a good throw. It should have been thrown further outside as he was looking for Otis Grant, number 82. So boy, Chuck Noll has the expression, you go from the penthouse to the outhouse in a hurry. That's what happened to Ferragamo.
1st and 10 for the Steelers at their own 30-yard line. David Woodley at quarterback. And Woodley goes back to pass on 1st down. Into and out of the hands of Rich Ehrenberg. Let's take a look at the Steelers on offense now, as it will be 2nd and 10 from their own 30-yard line. David Woodley from Miami. Frank Pollard, Rich Ehrenberg, who is a rookie, John Stallworth, and Louis Lips. The offensive line, Benny Cunningham, Ilkin, Wolfley, Webster, Wingle, and Brown. Webster, the 11-year veteran who hasn't missed a ball game in that period of time. 2nd and 10 from the 30. And flags go down. Offsides against the Rams. It looked like it was in the middle of the line.
69 encroachment.
And it certainly was. Greg Meisner, who went to the University of Pittsburgh, a 4-year veteran who was called for offside.
And Jim, if I had to characterize each of these offensive teams, I'd compare them to wounded birds, both of them flying on one wing. The Steelers can't run. The Rams have had trouble through the air.
2nd and 5 now from their 35. Hand off to Ehrenberg. And the young rookie gets up to about the 29-yard line, or rather the 39-yard line, where he's tackled there again by Greg Meisner. A look at the Los Angeles Rams on defense. Jack Youngblood, Meisner, and Reggie Doss up front. The linebackers, Mel Owens, Carl Eckern, Jim Collins, and, of course, George Andrews. The secondary, Gary Green, the All-Pro, Leroy Irvin, Eric Harris, and Nolan Cromwell, another All-Pro. 3rd and 1 for the Steelers. Ehrenberg again. And it's going to be close for the 1st down as George Andrews, number 52, comes up and makes the tackle. And it is a 1st down for the Steelers.
It's amazing when you think about the Pittsburgh Steelers and consider that Rich Ehrenberg is their leading rusher coming into this game with 17 carries for 65 yards. That time he just slipped a few tackles on the penetration by the Rams and got the 1st down.
And not a very big man either at 5'10" and maybe 200 pounds. And, you know, it's kind of the running back that you don't see these days. You see usually the big, strong guy, not him, but he's having a good season so far. 1st and 10 for the Steelers at their own 41-yard line. David Woodley at quarterback. Hand off to Pollard. He fights his way up the middle, picking up 3 or 4 yards. Tackled there by number 85, Jack Youngblood.
Well, Ehrenberg and Pollard aren't exactly household names when you think of the Steeler running backs of the past. Of course, Franco Harris has gone out to Seattle. Rocky Bleier, long retired. Abercrombie, Walter Abercrombie, the 3rd-year player out of Baylor, is hurt. So they've really had problems running the ball, Jim. They're near the bottom of the NFL in rushing, averaging only 83 yards on the ground per game so far.
So it will be 2nd and 6 for the Steelers at their 45-yard line. 11:45 to go here in the opening period. And Woodley goes back to pass. Going deep for John Stallworth. Covered there by Leroy Irvin. Good coverage by Leroy Irvin against the All-Pro and John Stallworth.
And a big rush by Jim Collins on Woodley there made him throw the ball a little bit sooner. But Irvin had great inside position on Stallworth. Yeah, there was a little bumping along the sidelines, but that was really jockeying for position.
You know, you're talking about Jim Collins putting pressure on Woodley. I think we will probably start to see some of that a little bit more from the Rams on defense today, because they really don't get a great deal of rush from their up front 3-down linemen. 5 defensive backs in now for the Rams. 3rd and 6 at the Steelers' 45-yard line. Ehrenberg, the only back in the backfield. Louis Lips in motion. Woodley's back to pass. Here comes the blitz. Woodley goes deep. intended for Weegie Thompson. Coverage there by Eric Harris.
And Jim, exactly what you said. They came with the blitz. It got there a little bit late. Weegie Thompson, 6 feet 6 inches tall, the rookie out of Florida State. They tried to get it up high to him along the sidelines, but it was good coverage by Eric Harris.
4th and 6, punting formation now for the Steelers. Craig Colquitt will be in punting formation for the Steelers. Henry Ellert and Leroy Irvin back for the Los Angeles Rams. Gets a Steeler bounce and goes out of bounds about the 14-yard line, and that's where the Rams will take over 1st and 10. So the Los Angeles Rams, who had an interception on a big drive, right now there's no score in the game. The Steelers nothing and the Rams nothing. Along with John Dockery, I'm Jim Hill. John Robinson, coach of the Rams, smiling now. He wasn't smiling a little while ago when Sam Washington picked up a pass by Vince Ferragamo in the end zone to kill a drive. Now the Rams have the ball at their own 14-yard line, 1st and 10. Ferragamo back to pass again. Tosses out in the flat to Eric Dickerson. Dickerson sheds a tackler and goes out of bounds, shedding Brian Hinkle there. He's driven out of bounds about the 18-yard line. So let's take a look at the defensive alignment for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Keith Willis, Gary Dunn, and Keith Gary, the 3 down linemen. The linebackers, a great core here. Mike Merriweather, David Little, Robin Cole, and Brian Hinkle. And they tell us that Merriweather could be the best ever. In the secondary, Woodruff, Washington, who made the interception, Donnie Shell, the veteran, and Rick Woods. 2nd and 6 for the Rams. Toss back to Dickerson. Cuts back to the inside. Brought down about the 21-yard line by Gary Dunn and David Little.
And you mentioned David Little making the tackle there, and a great cutback runner, Eric Dickerson. Little, of course, is subbing for the injured Jack Lambert, out for the last couple of weeks with a bad toe, and the pressure's on David Little because of that cutback running of Eric Dickerson and the domination of Dickerson in terms of the Rams running attack. He is the main force back there.
Certainly is. Remember yesterday Little told us that he had doubted his performance or that he could play, but now that he's filled in for Lambert, he's confident and ready to go. He'll get a good test this afternoon. 3rd and 6 at the 20 for the Rams. Goodman in motion. Ferragamo back to pass. Throw to the outside and almost intercepted. Dwayne Woodruff. Pass intended for Henry Ellert.
They came with the pressure and the blitz. When a quarterback's having his problems, much like Ferragamo's been having for this season, you know a defense is going to come with pressure, much like Cleveland did last week. Take a look at it right here. Merriweather outside, Little inside. The ball's a little underthrown, a little bit late, but he can't hold on to it. Woodruff had clear sailing had he made the interception.
4th and 2 for the Rams. John Misko back to punt for Los Angeles. And Lewis Lips, the exciting rookie for the Steelers, is at his own 40-yard line. Good high punt by Misko. Great special teams by the Los Angeles Rams going down to make the tackle. Mark Giroux. So that's where the Steelers will take over. 10 minutes, 22 seconds left in the opening period. No score between the Rams and the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers have the ball 1st and 10 at their own 39-yard line. David Woodley at quarterback for the Steelers. Hand off to Ehrenberg. And Rich Ehrenberg, the rookie from Colgate, is tackled by Jim Collins and George Andrews after picking up about 5 yards. Other scores today, these are some first scores that we're reporting. Minnesota over Atlanta 27-20. And it is Chicago defeating Green Bay 9-7.
Chicago still 3-0, undefeated. Chicago over Green Bay. Whew.
The Bears and the Cubs in Chicago. Oh, that city is really, really on fire. 2nd and 5 from the 44. David Woodley at quarterback for the Steelers. And Woodley goes back to pass. Sacked by George Andrews. Once again, John, starting to see some blitzing from the Los Angeles Rams because we know that they don't have a great pass rush up front from their down linemen.
And this is the one that the quarterback hates most. Do you know the awesome blitzes, the great outside, backside linebackers? Watch 52. He's never touched here. Woodley never sees him coming. Andrews makes the sack. Woodley lucky to hold on to the ball. The only guy that can pick that up is an interior lineman who might peel back much the way San Francisco did a few years ago against Lawrence Taylor.
5 defensive backs in for the Rams, 3 wide receivers for the Steelers. 3rd and 12 at the 37. Here's Woodley back to pass. Good protection. Dropping it off to Frank Pollard. Pollard there tackled by Charles DeJournette. That will bring up a punting situation for the Steelers as Craig Colquitt comes in for his second punt of the afternoon. So the Steelers really not being able to do much from an offensive standpoint, while the Rams have been frustrated going down the length of the field and having a pass picked off down there on an interception thrown by Vince Ferragamo. Not a very good punt by Colquitt. And there is a flag on the play as Henry Ellard makes the catch at the 25-yard line. And as we both know, John, that's something that Chuck Noll really is not happy with, his special teams, and in particular his punting.
Yeah, they've had some returns. He's not satisfied with it. He kept them out at practice on Saturday much longer than normal, almost an hour and a half on special teams. And Chuck doesn't like that. He believes a player...
Kicking team 94 was down the field illegally, declined a penalty. First down going the other way.
So Terry Eccles was called for the infraction. There's a timeout on the field. 8:32 left in the first period. No score between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Los Angeles Rams. 1st and 10 for the Los Angeles Rams at their own 25-yard line. No score in the ball game. 8:32 left in the opening period. Vince Ferragamo in for the Rams at quarterback. And he goes back to pass again. Good protection. Throws to the outside, and it is complete. Complete there to Drew Hill.
And it becomes pretty obvious who they're going to work on. Number 41, Sam Washington, in his 3rd year. They're going to work on him much like teams have been doing early this year. This time, it looks like Drew Hill's going to go on a takeoff. They completed that early, but instead he pulls it up and does an out. Ferragamo actually gets the ball there a little bit late, but Hill goes up and protects it for the reception. Not a great throw by Ferragamo, but has to be good for his confidence.
Tackle there made by Sam Washington. So the Rams have a 1st and 10 at their own 44-yard line. Ferragamo all set to pass again. Throws downfield, intended for Henry Ellard. Incomplete. Knocked out of bounds there by the veteran and Donnie Shell.
That's where your receiver, like Henry Ellard, you want to go back to Ferragamo and say, get the ball there a little quicker. The seam is open. I need it sooner, or else I might be decapitated by number 31, Donnie Shell, who's one of the deluxe hitters in the game. And that's what happens here. He has it for a moment, and bingo. He was fumbling it because he knew Shell was coming over to clock him.
Donnie Shell, the 11-year veteran from South Carolina. Otis Grant and Henry Ellard in at wide receivers for the Rams. Ferragamo back to pass again. Good protection. Down the middle of the field. Complete to Mike Kuma. So Ferragamo continues to throw the ball, and at times throws very well. Tackle there made by Sam Washington.
He went into the seam of the zone and got it there, but you saw a defensive player from the Steelers, number 41, go flying by, going for the interception. Of course, Washington had one already, but take a look at it again. Ferragamo looks for the seam. Good call. See, on the left of your screen, that number 44 fakes outside, gets the screen, and watch right there. See him go for the interception. That was number 31, Donnie Shell, not 41, Sam Washington. Completion, 1st down.
At the Steeler 27-yard line. Toss back to Dickerson. And Eric Dickerson, who was last season's Rookie of the Year, is tackled there by David Little.
And you know, Jim, you have to admire Ferragamo, Dickerson, and the Rams and Robinson. They're going into the teeth of a problem. We all know how badly Vince Ferragamo has played coming into this game. He had a total of 6 interceptions, but yet what the Rams are saying is we're going to support our man. He's our general. He's the guy that took us there last year to the playoffs, and we're going to be behind him, and we're going to throw the ball and face the problem straight on.
And while they are somewhat discouraged at having an interception in the end zone, they have to be pretty pleased because he's coming right back so far. Flags on the play. As the officials talk it over, Ben Dreif is the referee today.
That's contact on the defense. The tight end can move.
The fans are booing here because number 81, David Hill, didn't move, but the tight end is allowed to move. It was Keith Gary who jumped offside to make contact.
Very good point. And getting back to Vince Ferragamo for a moment, we talked to him last night. Remember sitting with him? He seemed like a very discouraged, deflated young man. Said, you know what, very honestly, he said it, I've been lousy for the last couple of weeks against Dallas and Cleveland, but I saw a little bit of improvement last week. I'm going to go back to the basics, and I think I can pick up my game.
Well, he has an excellent opportunity to get into the end zone here. 2nd and 1 at the Steeler 18-yard line. Vince Ferragamo. Hand off to Dickerson. And Eric Dickerson is hit at the line of scrimmage by Gary Dunn, number 67, the nose tackle.
And to a man, when you talk about the Steelers, when you talk to the Steelers, they say, the man we have to stop is Eric Dickerson. All they can think about is number 29. They compared. Remember, we asked a couple of the guys, they said, well, who does he remind you of? And a couple of the guys said, a large O.J. Simpson. But it was interesting. Chuck Noll didn't feel that way. He said, well, maybe a large Tony Dorsett. He has that kind of speed, that kind of acceleration.
And some people even said Jim Brown, but what a great comparison for a young man who's only in his 2nd year in the National Football League.
He's done some things in his short 2-year career, hasn't he?
Yes.
Over 1,800 yards last year.
Irv Pankey and Dwayne Crutchfield check into the lineup for the Rams. 3rd and 1. Koeman in motion. Toss back to Dickerson. Dickerson to the outside. Eric Dickerson brought down about the 8-yard line. Tackle there made by David Little.
And Dickerson, I mean, he just slid through that crack, but he got some help from number 45, Dwayne Crutchfield. Take a look at 44, the U-back, and 45, how they block for this man because they know all he needs is a crevice, and boy, he'll do it. And Koeman, right there, knocks out Dwayne Woodruff, and there you see, again, the lead block by number 45, Crutchfield. Dickerson does the rest.
Mike Koeman, who is an excellent role player. He knows exactly what he has to do. He must go in there and make those contacts, make the blocks, and that's what he does, and make some big catches, too. 1st and 8 for the Rams at the Steeler 8-yard line. Eric Dickerson in the backfield for Los Angeles. David Hill in motion. Toss back to Dickerson. And he's smothered at about the 7-yard line. That's one of the things. Remember, we were talking to the Steelers yesterday in their defense. They have always played well against good running backs, which is nothing new to them. They've played against some great running backs throughout the years. Here's the final. The Jets really putting it to Cincinnati, 43-23.
Well, the Jets felt they should have beaten these Pittsburgh Steelers. As you look at what New England did to Seattle today, a little bit of a surprise, of course, Franco Harris chasing Jim Brown's record.
After Seattle had jumped off to a big lead. 2nd and 7 from the 7-yard line for Los Angeles. Vince Ferragamo at quarterback. And Ferragamo goes back to pass. Tosses to the outside, incomplete, intended there for Henry Ellis.
I don't understand the coverage by Sam Washington. That's simply an out pattern. That's a touchdown if Ferragamo throws it well. Defensive back is sitting in the end zone. Jim, you and I both know. I know he's a young defensive back, but down by the goal line, you have to tighten up. You can't just give a guy a square out like he did to Eller there. It'll be a touchdown.
Total yards so far, 140 for Los Angeles, only 15 for the Steelers.
Impressive, impressive when you consider the offense for the Rams in the NFL is last overall.
3rd and 7 from the Steelers 7-yard line. The fans now trying to get behind the Steeler defense. Ellard in motion. Toss back to Eric Dickerson. Gets away from one tackle, but he is smothered. Robin Cole, who told us yesterday, he says, we are going to play well. He says it's nothing really new. Remember, he says it's nothing really new for us to face great running backs.
and they like to be. You mentioned Robin Cole. This is a fine set of linebackers, maybe as good as the old days. They like to be compared to those old defenses. And watch him cut back here. But too much pursuit, too much scraping. That's been a trademark of Steeler defenses for years. Chuck Noll demands that kind of intensity.
Mike Lansford in to attempt a 25-yard line with Nolan Cromwell holding. You saw it. It is good. So Mike Lansford completes a 25-yard field goal, but there is a flag on the play. And Ben Drive is talking with Nolan Cromwell right now.
Flag on the play.
3:27 left to go in the first period. 25-yard field goal by Lansford with the flag. Ben Drive talking it over with the other officials. And talking it over with the Rams, so it is apparently, the penalty is apparently against the Steelers. That's Jack Youngblood, one of the captains, and Cromwell, who is also another captain.
Robinson's practically out on the field. He wants to know what's going on.
I think the thing.
Number 56, unsportsmanlike contact, trying to block your field goal. That's 15-yard penalty. They're going to accept the penalty, and it's first down.
Whoa, Robin Cole. Whoa.
You know, there is a new rule this year which states that on field goal and extra point attempts, you cannot leave your feet and jump up in the air and attempt to distract or block an extra point or field goal. That's exactly what the penalty was.
See if we can take a look at it again. We'll look for number 56, Robin Cole. Try to get a look at the penalty. That's Little jumping up in the middle. That's not the penalty. Hard to tell what exactly happened, but the fans here at Three Rivers don't like the call.
So the Rams get a tremendous break with 3:27 left to go in the first period. The penalty there called on Robin Cole. Once again, the new rule is you cannot run and leave your feet to try and block an extra point or field goal. 3 tight ends for the Rams. First and goal at the 4-yard line. Play action pass. Toss into the end zone. Complete to Dwayne Crutchfield for a touchdown, Los Angeles.
Everybody in the stadium, every Steeler defensive player expecting to see number 29 up the middle, the great runner Eric Dickerson. What does John Robinson do? He says, oh, we're going to fake it, and we're going to throw it for the 7 points. Crutchfield in the flat, touchdown. Take a look at it from the ground level. Watch the fake. That's what makes it happen. Right here. Good block by Dickerson after the fake. Crutchfield for the touchdown. You see Dickerson pick up Donnie Shell, number 31. If he hadn't picked him up, it would have put more pressure on Ferragamo.
So Dickerson showing more and more that he is that complete back with a great block. Mike Lansford in now to attempt the extra point conversion with Cromwell holding again. Right down the middle. So Mike Lansford kicks the extra point, and the Los Angeles Rams on a touchdown pass from Vince Ferragamo to Dwayne Crutchfield lead the Pittsburgh Steelers 7-0. Will be Mike Lansford set to kick off for Los Angeles. Todd Spencer, number 36 from USC, back to receive for the Pittsburgh Steelers. 7-0 Rams, 3:22 left to go in the opening period. Spencer at about the 12-yard line. And Todd Spencer is brought down by the rookie David Crowder. And that's where the Steelers will take over. First and 10 at their own 27-yard line. So late in the first period, it's the Rams over the Steelers 7-0, and we'll be right back in just a moment. The Pittsburgh Steelers trail the Los Angeles Rams 7-0. David Woodley at quarterback for the Steelers. First and 10 at their own 28-yard line. And Woodley goes back to pass. Good protection. Complete to Ehrenberg. And the rookie from Colgate gets away from Jim Collins, and he's finally tackled by Nolan Cromwell.
Ehrenberg is just one of those backs that has the good balance and the instincts. He's very small at 5'10", 200. But the Rams said they were worried about him coming out of the backfield. Here he makes two men miss. Collins misses, and then watch Irvin, number 47, come by. He makes him miss. He gets a couple of extra yards before he's dragged down by Doss with good pursuit from his defensive end position.
Enough yardage for the first down. 1st and 10 at the 39-yard line for Pittsburgh. Hand off to Pollard up the middle. And Frank Pollard breaks 2 or 3 tackles before he's finally brought down by Reggie Doss. The Steelers openly admit that they do not have a very potent running attack.
They really don't, Jim. I mean, when you look at their rushing, they're 25th in the NFL, averaging only 83 yards a game. That won't cut it.
This telecast is presented by the authority of the National Football League, and it is intended for the private use of our audience. Any rebroadcast or other use of this telecast without the express written consent of the Steelers and the National Football League is prohibited. 2nd and 5. Woodley goes back to pass. Tosses into the flat to Ehrenberg. And he's knocked out of bounds there by Leroy Irvin.
Again, Ehrenberg bounces off and gets those extra few yards because Irvin doesn't wrap his arms. I mean, a good defensive back comes up there and slices him or knocks him back, but Irvin just, for the second play in a row, did not wrap his arms, did not put the solid hit on Ehrenberg out of the backfield. Very safe play. They're playing zone. Cornerback comes up, but still a couple extra yards for Ehrenberg.
A lot of people comparing Ehrenberg to Rocky Bleier, and that's a heck of a comparison this early in his career. 3rd and 1 at the 48. Quarterback sneak. Woodley stopped there by Jim Collins, and it looks like he has enough yardage for the first down. And it is.
Of course, we all remember Woodley at Miami, where he was the great scrambler. Actually, in the Super Bowl 3 years ago, here he says, I'd rather not run the ball that much. I'd rather let my runners do it. I'd rather put it up in the air and score points that way. Of course, that will help a quarterback's longevity.
Yes, absolutely. He has that ability to scramble, but he'd rather hand it off to someone. 1st and 10 at midfield for the Steelers. Hand off to Ehrenberg. Good defense by the Rams. Carl Eckern, number 55, and George Andrews, number 52.
How about that lead back by Frank Pollard, huh? He chopped down Eric Harris, who was coming hard. Even though there wasn't much gain, it was a fine block. And you mentioned this defensive team. Not an awesome pass rush, a legitimate set of linebackers, and a fine set of defensive backs. So, yeah, we expect to see more blitz. They have to put pressure on Woodley because he has one of the top passing games in the league and great receivers in Lips and Stallworth.
2nd and 10 at midfield for Pittsburgh. And Woodley goes back to pass. Good protection, throws out into the flat, and it's complete and dropped by Louis Lips. Recovered there by Los Angeles, number 55, Carl Eckern. So Louis Lips, the fine rookie who many people are comparing to Lynn Swann, makes the reception, but he fumbles and Los Angeles recovers.
What a nice throw by David Woodley. He throws it over the linebacker into Louis Lips' arms, but Louis takes some hit. And I think it's Gary Green, number 27, coming right there, makes him cough it up. Of course, Green, the all-pro they got from Kansas City. And there's the recovery. Rams get another break.
The Rams defensively, behind such plays like that by Carl Eckern, have played relatively well throughout the course of the year. And they just come up with another big turnover. 1st and 10 at the Ram 47-yard line. Ferragamo back to pass again. And he's dropped for right at about the line of scrimmage. Ed Nelson, number 64, and Brian Hinkle, number 53, in on the tackle. Good coverage then by the Steelers secondary, which forced Ferragamo to get out of the pocket and try to run. 59,000 fans on hand here at Three Rivers Stadium in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Along with John Dockery, I'm Jim Hill as we begin the second period with the Rams leading the Steelers 7-0. And John, the Rams are really going to work on the Steelers secondary. They are alternating their wide receivers. Olympic gold medalist Ron Brown is in. Vince Ferragamo at quarterback, George Farmer also in. And Ferragamo goes back to pass. Pumps once. Gets away from one tackler, but he can't get away from the rest of the Steeler defensive line. Ed Nelson gets in and makes the final tackle.
Well, the Steelers will use Nelson, the third-year man out of Auburn, in that rush, that four-man rush up front there, to get a little more pressure on Ferragamo. They're a little bit surprised, I think, by the game strategy of the Rams. Take a look at them right here. See the blitz there by number 56, Robin Cole? That gives the defensive lineman a little time. He can't find a receiver downfield. Ferragamo tucks it away, finally knocked down by Edmund Nelson, number 64.
3rd and 4 from the Ram 43-yard line. The Rams now in a shotgun formation, something this year that has been newly put in and kind of new to Ferragamo.
Doesn't like it.
And he doesn't like that either. Into and out of the chest of Eric Dickerson. Eric Williams there in on the tackle.
And Eric Dickerson, of course, didn't catch many passes in college, but has developed some hands here with the Rams. Ball is on the money. Dickerson just drops it. And look at his reaction. Eric is a man who seeks perfection. That not exactly what he wanted.
John Misko in punting formation for the Rams. Louis Lips back to receive for Pittsburgh. Low snap. Wobbly punt. Lips at the 23. Louis Lips brought down by Ivory Sully, who always comes in and makes a major contribution to the Los Angeles Rams on special teams. So with 14-12 to go in the first half, it's the Los Angeles Rams leading the Pittsburgh Steelers 7-0. Next Saturday right here on CBS, college football. Top-ranked Nebraska going against the 7th-ranked UCLA Bruins. The Bruins are going for their 3rd consecutive Rose Bowl victory. No other team has ever won 3 straight.
Well, they better be ready when they meet Nebraska. Of course, yesterday Nebraska buried Minnesota 38-7. And people are saying, well, what about the quality of opposition for UCLA? They better be ready next week.
Quality game going on right now. The Steelers and the Los Angeles Rams. Hand off to Ehrenberg. And the young rookie from Colgate picks up about 5 or 6 yards. Tackle there made by Jim Collins. Look at this, a final. The defending Super Bowl champion Raiders come from behind to defeat Kansas City 22-20. Detroit over Tampa Bay 7-0 in the second quarter. San Diego leading Houston by 2 touchdowns. San Francisco over New Orleans by 10 points in the second period. And it's Washington over the Giants 13-7 in the second quarter. Second down here, handoff to Ehrenberg. Tackle there made by Jim Collins again.
They must grow those running backs up at Colgate. Rich Ehrenberg, of course, the rookie late-round draft choice for the Pittsburgh Steelers out of Colgate. And remember, Marv Hubbard, Mark Van Egan, all of those running backs, not awesome physical ability, but somehow an instinct to run the ball, and that's exactly what Rich Ehrenberg has. Look at this score here. Woo. How about that 67 points scored? St. Louis finally nips Indianapolis by 1. Philadelphia losing to Dallas 3-0. Dallas looking to get back on the road after losing to the Giants last week.
3rd and 3 here for the Steelers at their own 39-yard line. David Woodley goes back to pass. Complete to Ehrenberg out of the backfield. Tackle made by Nolan Cromwell.
Give this reception to Ehrenberg because he has an option of going outside and inside. He reads it well. Woodley has enough time to hold the ball. Nolan Cromwell is covering him well. Woodley, watch here, gets good protection. That's Webster, number 52, knocking down. He goes back inside. Cromwell had great coverage on him, but the quickness by Ehrenberg makes that reception.
We all know that Ehrenberg is the best receiver among the backs for the Steelers coming out of the backfield. They want to get it to him that way. Woodley back to pass again. Complete to Lips. Louis Lips. Brought down by Carl Eckern, Nolan Cromwell, and Gary Green again.
If I were a defensive back, I would be sure to give Louis Lips a big cushion because he's got that great speed. He has uncanny know-how, and that's exactly what the defensive back is doing right here. giving him the big cushion. That's Gary Green. He catches the little turnaround. How many times have you seen Stallworth and Swan do that over the years? Just to hook Jim, get the good gain, make almost 9 yards on the play.
The cushion because the Rams were in a zone defense right there. The Steelers read it perfectly, just completing a little hook pass. 2nd and 1 from the Ram 37-yard line. 11 minutes, 20 seconds to go in the first half. Hand off to Frank Pollard. Pollard tackled by Reggie Doss as he picks up enough yardage, it looks like, for the first down.
When you talk about the cushion in Louis Lips, I'd give him a cushion too, because he leads the NFL in receiving yards with 260 yards, and his average is 26 yards per catch. That is awesome. And you know, you talk about Louis Lips, people are saying, well, is he the new Lynn Swann? He said, I take that as a compliment, and I'd love to be like Lynn Swann, but in my own way.
But there'll never be another 88. Oh. Not at all. 1st and 10 at the 35. Hand off to Ehrenberg. Ehrenberg showing great athletic ability before he's brought down by Jim Collins.
And Ehrenberg is a one-man gang here. We mentioned, and the Steelers feel it, and so do the Rams, that they don't have a dominant back, much like they had over the years here in Pittsburgh with Franco Harris. Ehrenberg and Pollard are very average talents physically, but somehow they get it done. The problem with the offensive line also, Jim.
Remember yesterday John Robinson said because of the trapping ability of the Steelers, he fully expects to see the Steelers pop a couple of 10 or 15 yards. 2nd and 5. Woodley back to pass. Complete to Ehrenberg. Slips one tackler, but he can't get away from 2 others. Collins again in on the tackle along with Leroy Irvin. So the Steelers are going to try and make a steady diet out of Rich Ehrenberg this afternoon. Not only him running the ball, but more importantly, him coming out of the backfield and catching passes.
Exactly, and this is the 2nd year in a row the Pittsburgh Steelers have started with a new quarterback. Cliff Stout was the quarterback last year because Bradshaw was injured most of the year and for all intents and purposes was gone. Now it's David Woodley taking control.
Weezy Thompson, 6'6" rookie from Florida State, checks in. The Steelers have 3 wide receivers. And Woodley's back to pass. Throws down. Complete to Louis Lips. Louis Lips knocked out of bounds at the 6-yard line by Gary Green, which we just got through talking about his big playability. That's good for 22 yards.
And his ability to come back to the ball. That was the difference there. Green didn't see him. Right there. See number 27 bumping him around. Right here, he loses sight of the ball. Lips does not, comes back for it and makes the reception. And of course, Green is the man they put on the slot. That is the toughest coverage on the field for a defensive back.
1st and 6 from the 6-yard line for the Steelers. 8:35 left to go in the first half. The draw play to Ehrenberg. Rich Ehrenberg down to about the 1-yard line. Tackle there made by Carl Eckert.
And you get the feeling that David Woodley and the Steelers have control of this game at the moment. A nice balanced attack. They flip the ball out in the flat, get a good gain, then they throw it downfield to Lips, and then they give it on the draw up the middle to Ehrenberg. Nice balanced attack, keeps the defense off balance.
You know, it's kind of, and we've both gone through this situation. Woodley's now 8 of 11 for 74 yards, where sometimes you go into a ball game and they say, well, you know, they don't have a week here, a week there, and that particular point is the one that comes back to haunt you in that game. 2nd and goal from the 1 for the Steelers. Play action pass, complete to Billy Cunningham, Pittsburgh. Benny Cunningham, who yesterday we talked to in the locker room, and he told us, he said, I sure wish they would throw the ball to me a little bit more. And remember, David Woodley said, Cunningham has got to be a big portion of our offense against the Rams, and he certainly was then. Gary Anderson in to attempt the extra point conversion for Pittsburgh. And it is good. But there is a flag on the play. A flag on the play.
On the offense, number 56, the defense was offside. We're going to play it over.
Offsetting penalties. So Anderson will come in again to try and tie the game up. David Woodley going to Benny Cunningham for the touchdown. And here's the extra point conversion. It's good again. This time it counts. So with 7:47 left to go in the first half, after a touchdown pass by David Woodley, the game is tied. With a touchdown pass to Benny Cunningham, the Steelers go 68 yards, 10 plays, use up 6 minutes and 25 seconds. Tied at 7. Gary Anderson set to kick off. Barry Redden to receive for the Rams. Redden at the goal line. And Barry Redden is dropped at about the 20-yard line of the Los Angeles Rams. Tackle there made by Mike Merriweather. So the Rams will take over 1st and 10 at their own 20-yard line. 7 minutes and 38 seconds left in the first half. 1st and 10 for the Rams at their own 20-yard line. Score tied at 7. Vince Ferragamo back to pass. Good protection. Complete to Mike Gooman. Gooman tackled there by Mike Merriweather and David Little. So Mike Gooman, who we talked about being an excellent role player, getting a pass from Ferragamo, and there's a penalty on the play, preliminary holding. That's the call against Los Angeles.
And that's one of the problems with the offensive line and for the Rams, Jim.
Offensive holding number 72.
They've had 5 sacks in 2 games so far this year. And last year they only allowed 23 sacks. That was the best in the NFL. They were tied with Miami. So this is a good veteran offensive line. But watch the holding. Number 72, Kent Hill. Holding right there. Robin Cole, the linebacker, of course, is a mismatch. A real quick linebacker on a big offensive lineman always causes them problems.
1st and 20 from the 11 for Los Angeles. Hand off to Dickerson. He fumbles the ball. Eric Dickerson gets back on the fumble. Gary Dunn in on the tackle for Pittsburgh.
They talk about Vince Ferragamo and all the problems he had. In fairness to him, and he wasn't looking for alibis when we talked to him last night, the offensive line has been having trouble with their protection. It's a whole new set of wide receivers with Ellard and Hill and Grant and Brown and Farmer. And you look at that right there. Total offense second quarter. The Rams have just shut down their offense minus 6 yards.
2nd and 26 from the Ram 5-yard line. 3 wide receivers in for Los Angeles. And Ferragamo is back to pass from his own end zone. It's intercepted by Sam Washington. He scores. Touchdown, Pittsburgh. Interception of the afternoon for Sam Washington, the 3rd-year man from Mississippi Valley State. This time he goes in for the score. He had 2 interceptions last week.
Exactly, and people have been picking on him because they see him as the weak link. Wayne Woodruff on the other side, a veteran cornerback. They're picking on him. He's up for the task, though.
And the conversion is good.
If there's one thing in the world they didn't want to happen to Vince Ferragamo, Johnny Robinson, it was an interception run back for a touchdown. Here, why in the world he threw this? It's almost a defiant move. He's in the end zone. He throws it out of his own end zone under pressure. They're playing zone. Washington reads it inside, takes it away from Gooman. Obviously, Ferragamo did not read, and that's why Pittsburgh leads 14-7 right here in the second quarter.
Gary Anderson set to kick off for the Steelers. Drew Hill back deep for the Los Angeles Rams. ball goes into the end zone, where it will come out to the 20-yard line for a touchdown.
And Jim, you and I both know to be a good defensive back, you must have vision. You must be able to see the receiver, but you also must be able to read the quarterback. Somewhere along the line, number 41, young Sam Washington, has learned that trait. He's able to see the quarterback and the receivers. He breaks on the ball here, seeing Guman inside. Great ball reaction, slides on the ground, doesn't stay there, gets back up, takes it into the end zone for the touchdown to put Pittsburgh ahead.
The big difference in that particular play, Washington playing the ball, going to it, Guman is standing there waiting for it to come to him. First and 10 for the Rams at their own 20. Hand off to Eric Dickerson. Dickerson fights his way up to about the 25-yard line. Keith Gary, number 92, there in for the tackle.
It'll be an interesting set of circumstances here now. Do you close up your tent and crawl into a hole if you're Vince Ferragamo? Do you go back to giving the ball to Eric Dickerson and getting it on the ground to get some confidence? Or do you try to put it up and do something through the air?
I don't think you really would fold up your tent right now, but you got to give the ball to Dickerson a little bit more. Take a little bit of pressure off Ferragamo. 2nd and 5. Quick pass intended and complete to Drew Hill. Tackle there made by Dwayne Woodruff, but there is a flag on the play.
Defensive. Looks like some kind of a personal foul. Might have been number 57, walking away from the ball.
I think you're right, John. I saw Ben Drive pointing to Mike Merriweather.
It was interesting. Merriweather was trying to get out of the action so they wouldn't point him.
Personal foul, unnecessary roughness, number 57. Elbow to the head of the quarterback.
That's it.
But did you see after he did it, he tried to get out of the area and say, no, not me, I didn't do it. And he tried to hide, but you can't hide out there. Penalty gives them a first down close to midfield.
So the Rams really get a big break out of that. It is a big, big break. And that is the second penalty that's gotten the Rams out of trouble.
Of course, the penalty on the field goal allowed them to score the touchdown early at a Crutchfield from Ferragamo.
Right. 1st and 10 at the Ram 48. Ferragamo back to pass. Here's the blitz. Incomplete, intended for Mike Guman. Mike Merriweather, who just was called for the personal foul, goes in and puts the pressure in on Ferragamo. The pass was incomplete. That time, not a good pass by Ferragamo. It was completely behind Mike Guman.
Might have rushed it a little bit. And we both know that Vince Ferragamo has an outstanding arm and is a good quarterback. But boy, when your confidence is waning, you're a totally different athlete.
Ferragamo 6 of 13 for 132 yards, one touchdown and 2 big interceptions. Hand off to Dickerson. Smothered in the backfield by Merriweather. Robin Cole also in on the tackle.
And that doesn't certainly help the situation when you see your star, Eric Dickerson, who's been able to run against just about everybody, smothered like that by the Steeler defense, forcing you to throw the ball with 3rd and 12, or 3rd and 13.
Well, the Steelers readily admit that they really like to rise to the occasion from a defensive standpoint when they're going against a big, famous, outstanding running back.
And it's interesting, only 9 players in 112 games have rushed for 100 yards or more here at Three River Stadium. So you're right, they do shut down the big backs.
Rams in the shotgun formation, 3 wide receivers, 3rd and 12 from the 46. More pressure. Ferragamo sacked again. Ed Nelson.
Boy, when the Steelers get you in the position of knowing you have to pass, they come at you hard. Take a look at it right there. Nelson up the middle from the outside. John Goodman, number 95, just back from a groin pull.
Here's the punt by Misko. One slips at the 14. Lips tripped up by Mike McDonald, number 63 for Los Angeles, and also David Crowder. But there is a flag on the play. So this young, feisty Steeler defense, who really likes to admit that they like to be compared to the old Steel Curtain. penalty against the Los Angeles Rams. Illegal receiver downfield.
Donnie Shell.
An eligible man downfield on the offense. Also, they had too many men on the field. Kick it over with a 5-yard penalty.
That always helps your coverage a little bit when you get an extra couple of guys out in the field. But you see Donnie Shell, he said make him kick it over again. We have Lewis Lips. He just might break them.
John Misko in punt formation for Los Angeles. You have to be careful when you have a dangerous punt returner like Lewis Lips down there. Making the Rams kick again, maybe thinking that the coverage team might get a little weary going down 2 times in a row. Flag on the play, roughing the kicker. And Lewis Lips is smothered at about his own 19-yard line, but that doesn't make any difference.
Number 78 looked like roughing.
As the Steelers are called for roughing the kicker. And the Rams, once again, John, get another big break out of it.
Another big break. Mark Catano, number 78, looked like the culprit.
Personal foul, 78, defense running into the kicker. 5 yards and a first down.
But, Jim, they came with pressure. They had 10 men up on the line of scrimmage. They were coming after Misko. And watch number 78, left side of your screen. He gets blocked. He goes into the kicker. There's the penalty. A silly penalty by the Steelers gives the Rams new life. And certainly Ferragamo, with the state of his mind right now, needs every opportunity he can get. 1st
and 10 for Los Angeles at their own 38-yard line. Ferragamo just now coming onto the field after getting last-second instructions from John Robinson.
And his team has been trying to pick him up over the last few weeks. Remember the image of him being carried off the field by his teammates after they beat Cleveland?
4 minutes, 18 seconds to go at halftime. Eric Dickerson, the lone setback for Los Angeles. Toss back to Dickerson, looking for some place to go. Nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. Brian Hinkle and Dwayne Goodruff.
Steelers know that contain is what you have to do against a great back like Eric Dickerson, and that's exactly what they get. You look at the outside of your screen, way to the left. Right here, you see Dwayne Woodruff, number 49, taking the outside leverage.
And Ferragamo is out of the ball game right now. And Jeff Kemp, number 9, is in. So Vince Ferragamo has left the ball game. Looks like he's injured of some kind. We'll get a report on that in just a couple of moments, but Jeff Kemp is in. And Kemp goes back to pass. Going deep. Intended for Henry Elliott. The ball bounces around after it's knocked away there by Sam Washington.
Well, it's interesting that Kemp, 4th year out of Dartmouth, hasn't played much, goes right downtown and tries to beat Sam Washington.
So we don't know exactly what the story is with Vince Ferragamo. It looks like the doctors are over there looking at his right hand right now, but Kemp goes in on his first attempt. He puts it up in the air.
It's almost interception, but Ellard, watch Ellard come back over the top of Washington right there, gets his hand in, knocks it away, so it's not intercepted.
3rd and 15 from the Rams' 33-yard line. Jeff Kemp at quarterback for Los Angeles. Draw play to Dickerson. And Eric Dickerson fights his way up to about the Los Angeles 41-yard line. So the Rams will have to punt. Vince Ferragamo on the far sidelines is being looked at by Dr. Robert Curlin, the team physician of the Los Angeles Rams. And John Misko comes back in to punt. 3 minutes left in the first half. The Steelers leading the Los Angeles Raiders 14-7. And Misko gets off a beauty. Looks at the 9. Misfires. Finally brought down by David Cotto. Vince Ferragamo is leaving the field right now. Looks like he is going into the dressing room with 2 minutes and 40 seconds left. So Ferragamo, who had an injury to his knuckle on his right hand in late preseason after he tried to make a tackle on an interception, is leaving the game right now. And the Steelers lead the Los Angeles Rams 14-7. Will be Bentley is in at quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But the big story of this game right now, Vince Ferragamo has gone in to have x-rays taken of his right hand. Ferragamo hurt the knuckle on his right hand in preseason when he went over to make a tackle after an interception. We'll have an update on those x-rays for you as soon as we're able to get them. 1st and 10 for the Steelers at their own 30-yard line. Play action pass. Woodley going deep. Complete to John Stallworth. Stallworth brought down by Nolan Cromwell.
And what Stallworth does better than most receivers, even though he's been in the league for 11 years and he was injured most of last year, is come back to the ball. He does not need the perfectly thrown ball, and that's the kind of thing Woodley appreciates. He comes back to the ball away from the defensive back here and makes the reception. It's well thrown, but Stallworth certainly helps out right there for the reception.
11-year veteran who owns 4 Super Bowl records. 1st and 10 for the Steelers at their 47. Hand off to Ehrenberg. Ehrenberg gets to the outside. Knocked out of bounds by Nolan Cromwell and Leroy Irvin. So the Steelers, who aren't supposed to have a very potent running attack, all of a sudden are running on the Rams just about whenever they want to now.
The Rams do not have a great defense against the rush. They're ranked around 9th or 10th in the league, but they're a decent defense. Right now, though, you sense that the Rams are deflated. They've lost their starting quarterback. It's time that the defense, if they're going to stay in this game, pick them up right now and shut down the Steelers.
But the Steelers are driving. They have the ball 1st and 10 at the Ram 38-yard line. 2:24 to go in the first half. David Woodley at quarterback. He goes back to pass. Complete to Stallworth. Stallworth tackled by George Andrews, but there is a flag on the play. Flag on the play at the 40-yard line as John Stallworth, who was injured last year, makes another reception. Here's the call.
2 men on the defense were offside. Decline the penalty. 1st down.
He had all day to throw that ball, David Woodley did, and that's the reason he completed it. You can't let Stallworth run around the secondary that long. He's going to find a hole. So Woodley right now is hot. You feel it, and that's his reputation as a quarterback, too. The Rams told us he's either hot or he's cold.
2 minutes and 10 seconds, 2 minutes and 11 seconds left now in the first half. The Steelers are driving. 1st and 10 at the Ram 26-yard line. David Woodley at quarterback. Hand off to Ehrenberg. Rich Ehrenberg. Tackled by Eric Harris, but there is another flag on the play. Ehrenberg gets down inside the 20 to about the 19-yard line. This time holding against Pittsburgh. So once again, a penalty.
Offensive holding, number 61.
Penalty called on Blake Wingle. But once again, a penalty called against Pittsburgh, which really enables the Rams to temporarily dodge the bullet. Scores around the National Football League. Detroit over Tampa Bay 14-7 in the second quarter. It is San Diego leading Houston 28-7 also in the second quarter. And Dallas leading Philadelphia 6-0 also in the second period.
A couple of field goals, a 51-yarder by Septien, a 47-yarder by Septien.
1st and 20 for the Steelers at the Ram 36. Woodley back to pass. Ball is thrown and is complete to Louis Lips, but there is another flag on the play. Flags are thrown at the 40-yard line, holding again against Pittsburgh.
That's their 6th penalty of the afternoon, and we're only in the second quarter. Pittsburgh Steelers having their problems with penalties.
Offensive holding, number 79.
This time it's against Larry Brown.
Well, Larry Brown is going against All-Pro Jack Youngblood, number 85. And what experience on that side. A 14-year veteran like Larry Brown. Remember when he was a tight end when I was here playing in the Pittsburgh Steelers, he was a tight end, and Larry said that kind of experience as a tight end, the quickness and speed required has helped me. But he has a load today with Jack Youngblood.
So the 2-minute warning has been given. With the score, the Pittsburgh Steelers leading the Los Angeles Rams 14-7. A very concerned John Robinson on the field. However, we just noticed that Vince Ferragamo has come back onto the playing field. We will get a report for you on the x-rays of his right hand. There's Ferragamo. His right hand, which was severely bruised in a preseason contest. So as far as the Rams are concerned, they certainly hope that the x-rays were negative and that he can get back in there. But the Steelers have the ball. 1st and 30. Woodley back to pass. Trying to complete a screen pass, but Carl Eckern is right in the middle and knocks everybody down, along with George Andrews.
And the second quarter has been all Pittsburgh Steelers, Jim. The offense this quarter, Pittsburgh 110 yards on offense. This quarter alone, Los Angeles has been shut down totally, -3 yards. So you talk about them needing Ferragamo. They need Ferragamo. They need Dickerson. They need something.
First of all, they need the ball.
Yeah.
And it's 2nd and 30. At the Ram 46-yard line, David Woodley, who has thrown 1 touchdown pass this afternoon. That one to Benny Cunningham. And Woodley goes back to pass again. Complete to Cunningham. Tackle there made by Eric Harris. So David Woodley, who told us yesterday that he has to get Cunningham back into the offensive philosophy because Cunningham has been mostly used as a blocking tight end, and he feels like his talents have been wasted somewhat, comes up with a big play.
First timeout.
So the Steelers call a timeout. It is their first of 3 here in the first half. The Steelers leading the Rams 14-7. Coming up at halftime, scores and highlights, and also legends of the game. Remember number 22 of the Dallas Cowboys, Bob Hayes?
Do I remember a long day down in Dallas when I had to cover Bob Hayes, man-to-man, bump and run. The entire helped to run me out of the league.
Oh, you chased him like I did, huh?
What?
You chased him like I did.
Oh, he was something else. What speed? There's Vince Ferragamo along the sidelines. Will not return. The report we get that he's fractured the pinky on his right hand. He has an ice pack on it, as you see there. Will not return. So it's young Jeff Kemp, quarterback of the Los Angeles Rams.
This is the second straight year that Ferragamo has suffered a hand injury. Last year, late in the season, he had a big cut between his little finger, the last 2 fingers on his passing hand. Now he suffers a fracture on the little finger on his right hand, and what a tremendous blow to the Rams. And all of a sudden, there's another young man on the spot in Jeff Kemp. But right now, 3rd and 17 for the Steelers. Woodley goes back to pass. Complete across the middle of the Stallworth. Tackle there made by Leroy Irvin. The Steelers call another timeout. That's their 2nd of 3 timeouts.
John Stallworth just runs away from Leroy Irvin. He did have some time. Woodley did right there. Gets good protection. Stallworth tries to cut back right here. But Irvin gets off the ground and makes the tackle. It's short of the first down, so they're going to go for the field goal.
So Gary Anderson will come on to attempt a field goal with 1:24 left in the first half. And we'll be back in just... It's kind of strange. You think that the Steelers would call a timeout?
I think they might have been not knowing exactly where they were on the field. They might have thought they had the first down, but instead they didn't let the clock run down like they probably should have.
37-yard field goal attempt by Anderson. Off to the right. So Gary Anderson, who yesterday, remember we talked yesterday, we saw him kicking them right down the middle from 55, 60 yards out. And I said, hey, let's be careful. It's different on game day.
Jim, he missed 3 last week. He's having his problems after being a Pro Bowler last year and probably the best place kicker in football. He's only 5 of 10 for field goals this year.
Coming up September 29th, right? CBS Sports
To throw an interception and give the Steelers something else, you want to go in and regroup. John Robinson does into the locker room at halftime.
50 seconds left in the first half. And Kemp's going back to pass. Good protection. Down the middle, complete to Henry Eller. Tackle there made by Rick Woods. And now the Rams are signaling for a timeout.
Shows you how much I know. He comes out throwing, the fourth-year man out of Dartmouth, gets a completion and a first down, moves the ball upfield. And what a lift it would be if they could put something on the board before the half.
You know, this is one of the reasons why Jeff Kemp is the #2 quarterback for the Rams. Throughout the course of the preseason, there was some concern as to who would be the quarterback, the backup quarterback for the Rams. That was a big story. Jeff Kemp knows the situation. He knows the Rams' philosophy inside out, and there were similar situations throughout the course of the preseason where Kemp was in this exact same spot. I remember specifically doing some games in the preseason, into the first half, 2 timeouts. You have to go the length of the field. You're behind. Here it is right now, and at that particular time, Kemp did it. He marched the length of the field and got a score on the board.
It's a real credit to the philosophy of John Robinson saying, okay, let's go for it. We're not going to play conservatively and just sit on it. We're going to give our young quarterback a chance to show what he can do. Detroit leading Tampa Bay at the half, 14-7. Gary Danielson and Sims, of course, doing well. San Diego ahead of Houston, 28-7. That also at the half. Obviously, Warren Moon not doing much.
Other scores, San Francisco over New Orleans, 17-7 in the second quarter. And one other score, Philadelphia leading Dallas by 1-7.
Ron Jaworski came back with a 16-yard TD pass to Mike Quick, as Dallas still having their problem.
5 defensive backs in now for the Steelers as they are backing up deep, not wanting to give the Rams anything behind them. 1st and 10 at the Ram 42-yard line. And Kemp goes back to pass. Here comes the rush. Forced out of bounds by Ed Nelson, number 64. 26 seconds left on the clock.
And boy, does that help an offensive line and a quarterback when he has the ability to scramble to get away from the rush. That time, number 93, Keith Willis, was bearing down on Kemp. He dodged him, took it upfield, got out of bounds, saves the timeout.
But all it really tells you is that there is great secondary by the Steelers, because Kemp had to get out of there and run and was forced out of bounds. So it will be 2nd and 14. Ball at the Ram 38-yard line. The Rams trail the Steelers 14-7. Vince Ferragamo out with a fractured right little finger. He will not return. Kemp's back to pass. Pass in the flat to Dickerson. And Eric Dickerson is brought down short of the 45-yard line. There, the tackle is made by Brian Hinkle.
A good idea. You have a great running back like Dickerson. It's a safe pass as they take a timeout, LA, with 16 seconds left. But try to get the ball to Dickerson in the flat. It's safe. See if he can break the big one.
If there is one positive thing for the Rams out of this whole situation as far as having Ferragamo not coming back into the ball game, that is, Jeff Kemp is a young man who knows, and as I mentioned before, he knows the Rams' offensive philosophy. He went through a very tough period of time in the preseason. In the second preseason game against the San Diego Chargers, he came out, did not play well. He threw a pass that was picked off for an interception and it was run back. He threw a couple of other bad passes. But then he started to really progress after that game against the Chargers in the preseason.
And he's really had, when you look at his career, a very spotted career. 1981, he only threw the ball 6 times for 25 yards. 82, he was injured most of that year. 83, didn't get much playing time. And right here, he's in the heat of action in Game 3, an important game for the Rams. This is a critical juncture. These Rams have to figure out how good they are. I mean, they played very average opposition, got buried by Dallas. They beat Cleveland, and now they're here against a tough Steeler team.
16 seconds left in the first half. Kemp is back to pass again. Throws downfield over the head of Drew Hill, covered there by Donnie Shell.
Good presence of mind, though. Jeff Kemp knew he wasn't going to go very far running the ball with the Steelers pursuing, so he kept his presence of mind, tried to get the ball downfield. Had he completed it with 9 seconds left, they would have called the timeout and had a shot at the field goal.
But you could see that the Rams have confidence in Kemp. They didn't go into a shell. They tried to move downfield. 4th down now. John Misko in to kick for Los Angeles. The Steelers don't have anyone back. Ball hits at about the 18-yard line. Takes a Steeler bounce before it is tipped there by Mike Wiltshire. And that's the end of the first half. Vince Ferragamo, quarterback of the Los Angeles Rams, will not return. He suffered a fracture of his right little finger. And you know, it's really amazing how throughout the course of the Rams in the last 4 or 5 years, their quarterbacks have had a history of hand injuries. Ferragamo today, Ferragamo last year with a severe cut in his hand. Pat Hayden a couple of years ago broke a finger as he hit it on the helmet of one of his offensive linemen.
Touchdowns for the Jets. England trailed Seattle 23-0. They find Tony Issa to win it 38-23. Minnesota wins for the first time under their new coach Les Steckel, 27-20 over Atlanta. The Raiders in Kansas City. This was the most dramatic game of the afternoon. Just inside of 5 minutes. The Chiefs are on the move against the toughest defense in the NFL. Herman Hurd gets the corner turn, and Kansas City takes the lead. Then Irv on 1st and 10. Raiders took charge.
You know they're going to do it. Plunkett goes deep to Malcolm Barnwell, who steps out on the 5-yard line. It was a 42-yard game, which sets up the game winner.
On 4th down, Chris Barr gave him the game winner, an 18-yard field goal, 22-20, and now the Raiders are 3-0, and the Chiefs fall to 2-1 on the season. The Chicago Bears, 3 Bob Thomas field goals. They beat the Green Bay Packers 9-7. Detroit at the half leading Tampa Bay 14-7. At the half, San Francisco over New Orleans 17-10. At the half, San Diego beating Houston 28-7. 3 rushing touchdowns by Ernest Jackson. And, of course, Pittsburgh and the Rams are at the half. You're watching that one, 14-7 Steelers. The Redskins leading the Giants 13-7 at the half. And Philadelphia and the Dallas Cowboys. Right now, the Cowboys have just gone ahead. Hogaboom hits Ron Springs, and the Cowboys lead it 13-7. The NFL Today continues on CBS after these messages from your local station. Back in the early 60s, before they became America's team, the struggling Dallas Cowboys drafted an Olympic champion whose dazzling speed helped transform them into winners. And today, Irv Cross begins a new season with his series Legends of the Game and the story of the man they call Bullet Bob Hayes.
In the 1964 Olympics, the USA relay team trailed by 9 yards until their anchor person turned it on down the stretch. The race was won, and an American Olympic hero was born. That American hero soon became part of America's team. And for NFL defensive backs, the reality was quite simple. If you let him get away, he was gone. Never before had the NFL seen a man with the speed of Bullet Bob Hayes.
I think I brought a dimension into pro football where the coaches, they had to find a solution. So I'm thinking in terms of zone defense, more or less was originated because of me.
Unlike other track stars, Hayes had pass-catching skills to go with his world-class speed. And his 76 career touchdowns still stand as a Cowboy record.
You had the big wide receivers and, you know, the Warfields and the Gary Collins and those guys that I consider, you know, real great wide receivers. And I don't know where I would place, but hopefully I would place among those guys. No doubt the name Bob Hayes is there.
Bob Hayes retired from pro football in 1974. In 1979, Hayes went to prison on a drug charge and served a 10-month sentence, an event that cost him his status as an American hero.
Bob, you're an Olympic champion. Did the U.S. Olympic Committee try to get a hold of you to have you participate in the games in Los Angeles?
No.
Have they forgotten Bob Hayes, too?
Bob Hayes was forgotten in that area. And I'm a big boy. You know, I'm not feeling sorry for myself because I didn't get out there, but what I accomplished in the Olympics, you know, I think is second to none. You know, coming from behind 9 yards in a relay and you're winning, and you're timed in an 8.4 to 8.6 seconds. I mean, you know, that's phenomenal. And you know, those memories lingers on. And when the Olympics comes around in Los Angeles, I want to be a part of and associated with it. Even just sitting out there watching, you know, looking or commentating or asking questions, anything.
At a preseason game in Texas Stadium, Dallas fans welcomed the 1984 USA medal winners. And only a pint-sized gymnast from West Virginia received more applause than a forgotten hero.
Also in midfield, former Dallas Cowboy Olympian Bob Hayes.
Though the athletes he mingled with were 2 generations removed from his achievements, they all knew the legend of Bullet Bob Hayes.
I've seen you play, run. You were one of the greatest of all time.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you for having us.
In his sleep, I think Spider Lockhart is still trying to catch Bullet Bob. Tell me, Herb, did you ever get beat deep by Hayes?
Never, never. We always doubled him. I played the short zone.
All right, let's send you back to the game now that you're enjoying on CBS.
Halftime at Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The Steelers leading the Los Angeles Rams 14-7. And big breaks have really been the story of this game. Big breaks for the Rams, which allowed them to take a 7-0 lead. However, the Steelers also get some big breaks. They come back and they score 2 touchdowns as they lead at 14-7. But, John, of course, the big story right now, Vince Ferragamo will not return because of a fractured little finger on his right hand.
And that could be the season for the Rams. I mean, they have young Jeff Kemp backing him up, 4th year out of Dartmouth. Certainly not the veteran you need to step in and take a team to the playoffs. After that, it's Nolan Cromwell. So I would expect the Rams are probably on the phone right now trying to shop around for a veteran quarterback.
Let's talk just for a couple of seconds about availability of quarterbacks. I'm sure you have some ideas.
You know what jumps into my mind right away is when you look at the New York Giants, Phil Simms has taken over as their quarterback. Jeff Rutledge is a backup. He was with the Rams. He knows the system. He might become available because of young Hostetler out of West Virginia. The Giants are hiring him, so they might be able to pry him loose.
There is another possibility. I heard Tom Landry of the Dallas Cowboys say that he's going to have to make a move, or he should make a move with one of his 2 quarterbacks as soon as that situation stabilizes down in Dallas. Right now, Gary Hogaboom is the starting quarterback. Maybe Danny White would become available.
Well, they could use someone like Danny White. We know how critical the quarterback position is in the NFL. You have to have one, and of course the Rams want to win now. They're not thinking about the future, and you have to question whether Kemp can do it, even though before this Ferragamo wasn't exactly having an outstanding season.
So the Los Angeles Rams with Vince Ferragamo, their starting quarterback, out with a broken right finger, his little finger. They trail the Pittsburgh Steelers by a score of 14-7. We'll be back with the beginning of the second half in just a moment. John Robinson, head coach of the Los Angeles Rams, going into his second full season as their head coach, has a major problem on his hands right now, and that major problem is a hand. The right hand passing finger, the little finger of Vince Ferragamo, who will not return. He fractured his finger this afternoon in the first half. Jeff Kemp is on the spot. He is the quarterback, and the Rams right now do not have another backup quarterback as they trail the Steelers 14-7 at halftime.
Robinson definitely has a problem. Of course, the Steelers have solved their quarterback problem with David Woodley. They just feel that he can do the job. He's won the job just because he puts points on the board, and that's a quote from Chuck Noll. So there is a quarterback problem for the Rams, and Steelers seem to have solved theirs.
Next Sunday, there's another exciting NFL doubleheader on CBS Sports. In the first game, you'll see either San Francisco at Philadelphia or Washington at New England, or the Los Angeles Rams at Cincinnati, followed by the Green Bay Packers at Dallas, or the Chicago Bears as they take on the Seattle Seahawks.
Boy, I love that Chicago Bears-Seattle game. Walter Payton and Franco Harris chasing the ghost of Jim Brown. And boy, I talked to Franco, I had a little time with him, of course. Leaving the Steelers was traumatic for him. He was so down and depressed, I couldn't believe it. And to see him in a Seattle uniform wearing number 34 is just something that jars the mind. You're so used to him performing at such a high level for all the years, number 32 for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But boy, next week it's Payton and Franco.
It all starts with the NFL Today at 12:30 Eastern Time right here on CBS.
You have to feel for this man. Doesn't your heart go out for him? He's battling all those problems. He was booed, and finally he doesn't get a chance. He breaks his finger. Oh,
he's had one problem after another. The Steelers lead the ball game 14-7. Mike Lansford all set to kick off for the beginning of the second half. Todd Spencer back deep for the Steelers. And our second half is underway. Spencer at the goal line. And Todd Spencer is brought down about the 17-yard line. Tackle there made by Mike Welcher.
And I can imagine John Robinson in the locker room saying, okay, guys, we got a bad break. Ferragamo's gone. Kemp's our man. It's time for all of you other fellas to pick it up. You see Jack Youngblood, take care of things. Cromwell, make it happen in the second half. Stuff the Pittsburgh Steelers, get the ball back for us in good field position. 1st and 10 for the Pittsburgh Steelers at their own 17-yard line. David Woodley at quarterback. Elton Veals is in the backfield now for the Steelers along with Ehrenberg. And handoff goes to Ehrenberg. Rich Ehrenberg brought down by number 52, George Andrews.
From West Virginia received more applause than a forgotten hero.
Also in midfield, former Dallas Cowboy Olympian Bob Hayes.
Though the athletes he mingled with were 2 generations removed from his achievements, they all knew the legend of Bullet Bob Hayes.
I've seen you play, run. You were one of the greatest of all time. Thank you. It's my pleasure. Thank you for having us.
In his sleep, I think Spider Lockhart is still trying to catch Bullet Bob. Tell me, Herb, did you ever get beat deep by Hayes?
Never, never. We always doubled him. I played the short zone.
All right, let's send you back to the game now that you're enjoying on CBS.
Halftime at Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The Steelers leading the Los Angeles Rams 14-7. And big breaks have really been the story of this game. Big breaks for the Rams, which allowed them to take a 7-0 lead. However, the Steelers also get some big breaks. They come back and they score 2 touchdowns as they lead at 14-7. But, John, of course, the big story right now, Vince Ferragamo will not return because of a fractured little finger on his right hand.
And that could be the season for the Rams. I mean, they have young Jeff Kemp backing him up, 4th year out of Dartmouth. Certainly not the veteran you need to step in and take a team to the playoffs. After that, it's Nolan Cromwell. So I would expect the Rams are probably on the phone right now trying to shop around for a veteran quarterback.
Let's talk just for a couple of seconds about availability of quarterbacks. I'm sure you have some ideas.
You know what jumps into my mind right away is when you look at the New York Giants, Phil Simms has taken over as their quarterback. Jeff Rutledge is a backup. He was with the Rams. He knows the system. He might become available because of young Hostetler out of West Virginia. The Giants are hiring him, so they might be able to pry him loose.
There is another possibility. I heard Tom Landry, the Dallas Cowboys, say that he's going to have to make a move, or he should make a move with one of his 2 quarterbacks as soon as that situation stabilizes down in Dallas. Right now, Gary Hogaboom is a starting quarterback. Maybe Danny White would become available.
Boy, they could use someone like Danny White. We know how critical the quarterback position is in the NFL. You have to have one, and of course the Rams want to win now. They're not thinking about the future, and you have to question whether Kemp can do it, even though before this Ferragamo wasn't exactly having an outstanding season.
So the Los Angeles Rams, with Vince Ferragamo, their starting quarterback, out with a broken right finger, his little finger, they trail the Pittsburgh Steelers by a score of 14-7. We'll be back with the beginning of the second half in just a moment. John Robinson, head coach of the Los Angeles Rams, going into his second full season as their head coach, has a major problem on his hands right now, and that major problem is a hand. The right hand passing finger, the little finger of Vince Ferragamo, who will not return. He fractured his finger this afternoon in the first half. Jeff Kemp is on the spot. He is the quarterback, and the Rams right now do not have another backup quarterback as they trail the Steelers 14-7 at halftime.
Robinson definitely has a problem. Of course, the Steelers have solved their quarterback problem with David Woodley. They just feel that he can do the job. He's won the job just because he puts points on the board, and that's a quote from Chuck Noll. So there is a quarterback problem for the Rams, and Steelers seem to have solved theirs.
Next Sunday, there's another exciting NFL doubleheader on CBS Sports. In the first game, you'll see either San Francisco at Philadelphia or Washington at New England, or the Los Angeles Rams at Cincinnati, followed by the Green Bay Packers at Dallas. or the Chicago Bears as they take on the Seattle Seahawks.
Boy, I love that Chicago Bears-Seattle game. Walter Payton and Franco Harris chasing the ghost of Jim Brown. And boy, I talked to Franco, had a little time with him, of course. Leaving the Steelers was traumatic for him. He was so down and depressed, I couldn't believe it. And to see him in a Seattle uniform wearing number 34 is just something that jars the mind. You're so used to him performing at such a high level for all the years, number 32 for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But boy, next week it's Payton and Franco.
It all starts with the NFL Today at 12:30 Eastern Time right here on CBS.
You have to feel for this man. Doesn't your heart go out for him? He's battling all those problems. He was booed, and finally he doesn't get a chance. He breaks his finger. Oh,
he's had one problem after another. The Steelers lead the ball game 14-7. Mike Lansford all set to kick off for the beginning of the second half. Todd Spencer back deep for the Steelers. And our second half is underway. Spencer at the goal line. And Todd Spencer is brought down about the 17-yard line. Tackle there made by Mike Welcher.
And I can imagine John Robinson in the locker room saying, okay, guys, we got a bad break. Ferragamo's gone. Kemp's our man. It's time for all of you other fellas to pick it up. You see Jack Youngblood, take care of things. Cromwell, make it happen in the second half. Stuff the Pittsburgh Steelers, get the ball back for us in good field position. 1st and 10 for the Pittsburgh Steelers at their own 17-yard line. David Woodley at quarterback. Elton Veals is in the backfield now for the Steelers along with Ehrenberg. And handoff goes to Ehrenberg. Rich Ehrenberg brought down by number 52, George Andrews. So if there was ever a time when the Rams really need to rally together, they need to start it right now. And there's no better way really to start it than with your defensive unit. The defense holds now. Give the Rams the ball in relatively good field position. And give young Jeff Kemp some room to work with. But they have to get it away from the Steelers. 2nd and 9. Ball at the 18-yard line of Pittsburgh. Woodley back to pass. Going deep to Stallworth. Knocked out of bounds by Nolan Cromwell. It's hard to figure out why Nolan Cromwell was so late getting to that ball. He was playing the deep zone. Irvin was playing up short. He must not have read the quarterback, because Woodley, he's looking away, but he comes back right now. Perhaps he thought he was going to throw the sideline. But you see Cromwell come from the middle and get there late. John Stallworth with the reception picks up the momentum for Pittsburgh.
That play good for 31 yards. It gives the Steelers a first down at just about midfield. David Woodley at quarterback for the Steelers. Ehrenberg and Elton Veals in the backfield. Play action pass over the head of Lewis Lips. Coverage there by Gary Green.
Woodley's pass intended for Lips. Incomplete.
So the Steelers looked like they were a little bit confused on that particular play. Woodley now is 14 for 19 for 158 yards and 1 touchdown. That, of course, going to his tight end in Benny Cunningham.
I was just going to say that's probably the first bad ball that I can remember Woodley throwing this afternoon. It got away from him. He threw it over the head of Lewis Lips, who didn't have much room anyhow.
2nd and 10 for the Steelers now, as they lead the Rams 14-2. Our second half has just gotten underway. Hand off to Veals. He's tackled by Reggie Dawson, Jack Youngblood.
That's what I was talking about, taking control of the line of scrimmage, making something happen, penetrating. That's what the defensive line of the Rams did that time. They penetrated, got across the ball, and made the tackle.
Weegee Thompson and Frank Pollard check in for the Steelers. The Rams now have 5 defensive backs in. Ivory Sully, number 37, comes in. 3rd down conversions. The Steelers are 4 of 7. Flags on the play. Woodley back to pass. Complete across the middle to Lewis Lips. Lips breaks the tackle. the exciting young rookie from Southern Mississippi. But remember, there is a flag on the play. Finally brought down by Eric Harris, number 26. John, this is amazing. Once again, it looks like the penalty
against the Rams this time.
Against the Rams this time, and it is declined. So now the snowball effect is starting to take place, I think, in this ball game. You lose your starting quarterback. Pittsburgh comes up and completes a big play. You get a penalty tacked on to that. Now the Steelers have the ball deep in Ram territory.
And watch this. You see Gary Green, number 27, trailing Lips. He gets inside. Now, Gary Green is one of the best cover men, but tough on bump and run. Lips gets away from him, coughs up the ball there, but pulls it back in, so the Rams do not recover.
Lips 4 catches for 66 yards. Hand off to Elton Fields. Tackle made by Reggie Doss.
It's a tough situation for the Rams, as you allude to. At this point, you need a defense that's dominant to take control of the game. They haven't been able to do that. Woodley's been mixing the pass and the run and completing it.
One Steeler is slow getting up. That's Rich Ehrenberg, their young rookie from Colgate. And, you know, one of the reasons why he may be hurt is he's not that big. And if you keep pounding in there and pounding in there, maybe it'll catch up with you. And I think that's just what happened now. So, with 12:48 to go in the third period, it's the Pittsburgh Steelers 14, the Los Angeles Rams. Ehrenberg on the sidelines for the Steelers. We get the report that he's got a finger stuck in his right eye. He's been replaced by Scoop Gillespie. 2nd and 9 for the Steelers at the Ram 19-yard line. Elton Fields in the backfield for Los Angeles, for Pittsburgh, rather. And there's movement by Los Angeles and flags on the play.
And, Jim, this is a revamped Pittsburgh Steelers team. They have 17 new faces from their playoff team at the end of last year.
Ben Drive, the referee for today.
Including 5 of those new players are running backs. Veals, Corley, Gillespie, Spencer, Ehrenberg.
And now the crowd is getting just a little edgy because they want the officials to come on and make a decision here as to what the penalty was. And it's against Pittsburgh, and you know they don't like that.
But I mentioned all those new players is that we just saw Elton Veals in there. We saw Scoop Gillespie. And Chuck Noll is trying to find some kind of a combination in the backfield while he waits for the return of Walter Abercrombie. And he's angry. Chuck doesn't think it should have been on the Pittsburgh Steelers.
2nd down and 14.
So it will be 2nd and 14 for the Steelers at the Ram 24-yard line. Chuck Noll knows this is a big, big drive here for his ball club. David Woodley at quarterback. And he's back to pass. Going deep down the middle. Over the head of number 89, Benny Cunningham. Leroy Irvin there defending.
So, outstanding coverage by Leroy Irvin and no pass rush. And that's the biggest problem the Rams have had.
Cunningham is really getting his work today. As he told us yesterday, he really wants to get back into the offensive philosophy, but Leroy Irvin has had his hands full, as well as the rest of the Rams defensive unit.
Of course, without Gary Jeter, he was the man who had 6.5 sacks last year for the Rams. They really don't have an overpowering defensive end to rush the pass.
Weegie Thompson checks in for the Steelers. The Rams now have 5 defensive backs in. 3rd and 14. Woodley goes back to pass again. Here comes the rush. Throws into the end zone. Out of bounds as the pass was thrown to Weegie Thompson. David Woodley getting away from Nolan Cromwell and Jack Youngblood. Throws into the end zone. It was complete but out of bounds to Weegie Thompson.
Well, they're trying to come with pressure. They don't have a normal pass rush, so they send number 21, Nolan Cromwell. Take a look at it right here. Comes on the rush, and he's the one that's chasing Woodley. He's waving some players upfield. It's knocked out of bounds.
Gary Anderson, who missed a field goal, is in now for a 41-yard attempt. Craig Colquitt is in to hold. He does not miss this one. 41 yards right down the middle by Gary Anderson. And the Steelers take a 17-7 lead over the Los Angeles Rams. The Pittsburgh Steelers leading the Los Angeles Rams 17-7. The Steelers go 60 yards, 9 plays, time of possession 2:56, capped off by the field goal. And Gary Anderson is all set to kick off. Drew Hill at the 5-yard line. And Drew Hill is tackled there by number 50, David Little, who is a starting inside linebacker, participates on special teams, and is making major contributions this afternoon all the way around. So now Jeff Kemp, who is replacing Vince Ferragamo. Ferragamo will not return. He has a fractured little finger on his passing hand. The Rams are down. Kemp is in. They have the ball 1st and 10 at their own 21-yard line.
Oh, there's an interesting graphic. Have not scored a point in the 3rd quarter.
That's Koeman in motion. And Kemp is back to pass. Complete to David Hill. And David Hill is brought down by David Little and Robin Cole.
A good idea there. Throwing to the tight end is a much easier pass to complete than throwing wide to the outside receivers. David Hill is a man who's got good speed, can get open. It's a good idea by Kemp to go there. But even more important, I think, when you look at the statistics in the first half, Eric Dickerson carried the ball 13 times for a mere 19 yards.
Did not have a good half last week against Cleveland either, but in the 4th period, he came on when it counted. Handoff this time to Dickerson, and he's met by a host of Steelers. David Little again in on the tackle. Remember, David Little was a young man who we talked to yesterday. He said that, you know, I know I'm not that big. I'm not as big as other linebackers in the league, but he said, I know I can play, and he's doing it.
Certainly is. And so is that man, number 50, replacing Jack Lambert, of course, the 11-year All-Pro for the Pittsburgh Steelers. This man in his 4th year out of Florida, David Little. And Jack Ham, when he came by the booth a moment ago, said, you know what? These linebackers may be as good as the linebackers from those Steeler teams in the mid-70s. Quite a compliment from Jack Ham, who played on those great teams.
Certainly is. David Little, the brother of the All-Pro offensive guard Larry Little, who played with the San Diego Chargers. And, of course, he got most of his fame with the Miami Dolphins.
Isn't he a head coach down at Bethune-Cookman now?
Bethune-Cookman, doing a heck of a job down there, we understand.
Little brother David, playing here for the Steelers and playing well.
Remember yesterday we said Little, he said, no, I'm younger brother, which I understand perfectly. So it will be 3rd down now. The Rams are a bad 1 of 7 in 3rd down conversions. 3rd and less than 1. Dwayne Crutchfield checks into the backfield along with Eric Dickerson. Quarterback sneak by Kemp. And it appears that he has enough yardage for the first down. Keith Gary in on the tackle along with Robin Cole.
And a good surge from the middle of that offensive line. Doug Smith, Dennis Hara, Kent Hill, all veterans, all big and strong, helped them to get that first down.
Scores in the National Football League. Tampa Bay and Detroit tied at 14 all in the 3rd quarter. New Orleans and San Francisco tied at 17 all in the 3rd quarter. And the Giants leading Washington 14-13, that in the 3rd period also. But here, the Rams trailing 17-7. Handoff to Dickerson, cutting back, but right into trouble. Donnie Shell up there, David Little, Robin Cole.
And those linebackers talked about having to put control on themselves, almost a muzzle on themselves, to not overrun the cutback of Eric Dickerson. These are great pursuing linebackers for the Steelers. They're all over the field. But here, with a runner like Dickerson, you have to control and play the cutback, and they're doing it.
2nd and 8 for the Rams at their own 35-yard line. Dickerson 15 carries for only 24 yards. Toss back to Dickerson. There's a cutback again. Eric Dickerson over the 40-yard line. Tackle there made by John Goodman. You know, it's really a thing that they really have to be careful of, because you can hold him down, hold him down, hold him down. All of a sudden, he can pop the big one on you. This is what he did against the Cleveland Browns last week. He was held for under, I guess it was 25 or 30 yards in the first half against the Browns. But when the Rams really needed that drive in the fourth quarter, they went to number 29, and he got it for them.
He's been carrying this team. He got 138 yards versus Dallas, 102 versus Cleveland. So Dickerson's been the main part of the Ram offense to this moment, except for the first half today.
3rd and 2 from the 41. Hand off to Dickerson. Spins his way, crossing the 41, 42-yard line, but not enough yardage for the first down. Keith Gray and Gary Little. Gary and Little in on the tackle. Tell you, that Little has been all over the field this afternoon, and one of the things that the Steelers have done with him is that Little is the inside linebacker, and they always put him on a tight end side because they know that most of the time that's where the Rams run, and that's where Dickerson will be. So the Steelers hold 4th and 1 at the Ram 42-yard line. John Misko in to kick for Los Angeles. Louis Lips back to receive for the Steelers. Misko gets off not a very good kick, but he gets a Los Angeles roll. It's kicked by Mike McDonald at about the 6 or 7 yard line. Mike McDonald, number 63, and going down to cover the punt, accidentally kicked it about the 6 yard line. And that's where the Steelers will take over 1st and 10. So with the score, the Steelers leading the Los Angeles Rams 17-7. We'll be back. Chairman of the board of the Pittsburgh Steelers, a grand gentleman he is, Mr. Art Rooney.
The man they call the Chief with the ever-present cigar. Boy, was he upset by Franco Harris leaving.
Said it was the toughest thing he's ever gone through in his life, including his personal life, seeing Franco leave. With Mike McDonald kicking the ball into the end zone, it comes out to the 20-yard line. That's where the Steelers will take over 1st and 10. David Woodley at quarterback, Elton Fields and Rich Ehrenberg in the backfield. Woodley back to pass. Intended for John Stallworth. Covering there was Leroy Irvin.
Woodley's pass intended for Stallworth. Covered by Irvin. 2nd down and 10.
So it'll be 2nd and 10 for the Steelers. As David Woodley, who came from the Miami Dolphins to the Steelers, is feeling right at home here.
Feeling right at home, and they like him. I mean, they admire his courage. In the first game against Kansas City, he was knocked still. He got a concussion. He was questionable versus the Jets. But what does he do? He comes back, beats the Jets with 3 touchdown passes. He's a tough quarterback. And if there's anything respected in Pittsburgh, it's toughness.
Right now, he has the Steelers in front. And Woodley's back to pass again. Here comes the rush. Flag on the play as Benny Cunningham and Louis Lips were the nearest receivers for the Steelers. But there is a flag on the play.
You're pointing at that offensive line.
The preliminary call by Ben Dreif is holding. So once again, the Los Angeles Rams get some help because of a penalty due to the Steelers.
Offensive holding number 61. Decline a penalty. That's 3rd down.
And because of the incompleted pass, the Rams declined the penalty. Called there against Blake Wingo. Wingo from UCLA. In his 2nd year. Weegee Thompson, the big 6'6" rookie from Florida State, checks in, as the Steelers now have 5 wide receivers, or rather 3 wide receivers in, and the Rams have 5 defensive backs in for them. 3rd and 10. Ball at the 20-yard line of the Steelers. And Woodley's back to pass again. Intercepted by Eric Harris. Eric Harris, who did a great job of playing the ball, jumped in front of Louis Lips right at the last second and almost had an interception.
It's really an excellent thing when you have a defensive back like Eric Harris, who played cornerback for the Rams last year. That means he has the ability to cover one-on-one. Here, great ball reaction, cuts underneath right there on Louis Lips, almost pulls it down with one hand.
4th and 10 for the Steelers. Craig Colquitt in to kick for Pittsburgh. Leroy Irvin back to receive, and Henry Ellard for Los Angeles. A good high punt. 27. Going up the far sidelines and just gets knocked out of bounds as he tries to turn the corner. So Henry Ellard, who has blazing speed, knocked out of bounds there by Randy Rasmussen. So with 7 minutes and 38 seconds left to go in the third period, the Pittsburgh Steelers lead the Los Angeles. So Jeff Kemp from Dartmouth in his 4th year. Kemp today is 3 of 5 for 35 yards after replacing Vince Ferragamo, who suffered a fracture of his right finger, his right little finger on his right hand. Toss back to Eric Dickerson. Dickerson finding nowhere to go, shifting gears. Finally brought down by number 56, Robin Cole.
And if there's one man that can pick up this Los Angeles Ram team, it's that man, Eric Dickerson. I mean, Cole and those linebackers are all over the field, but Dickerson has the ability right there. It looked like he was going to cut back. He changed direction and got all of that yardage on his own. But without some kind of a passing game, Jim, it really puts an awful lot of pressure on Eric Dickerson to run the ball.
Well, the Steelers have always played great running backs extremely well. And they're doing it again this afternoon. Under 7 minutes left to go in the third period. Kemp hands off to Dickerson. He's hit in the backfield once again. Robin Cole. Sam Washington also coming in. Cole, who is an all-pro, moved from the outside linebacker into the inside position, told us yesterday he likes that spot because he really likes to be where the action is, and he's in on the action today.
And that Steeler defense is getting off the ball. Watch this rush right here. They're coming. It looked like they might even have been offsides. Robin Cole, number 56, gets the penetration, brings down Dickerson. And you know, remember what Cole told us? He said, we don't do anything really special. We just all get up when there's a challenge of a great running back like Dickerson.
3rd and 4 at the 43. Henry Ellard goes in motion for the Rams. And Kemp is back to pass. Here's the blitz. Throws downfield. Complete to Drew Hill. And Drew Hill is going to score. Touchdown, Los Angeles.
Lightning strikes.
Jeff Kemp, who was almost sacked, showed his great scrambling ability. Going downfield, finding Drew Hill. Good for a touchdown, 57 yards.
And chasing him was number 57 and number 56, Robin Cole, number 56, and 57, Merriweather, 2 agile linebackers with great speed.
One of the things that the Rams have always tried to do is quiet the crowd here this afternoon, and that's what they've done right now. But throughout the course of the preseason and the regular season, one of the things that they really wanted to do was to be able to come up with the big play. They have the speed. Remember, we talked to John Robinson. He told us the one thing that he wanted to do with this club this year was to get a deep threat, someone who could go deep. The Rams have great speed at the outside wide receivers, and it just paid off. 57-yard touchdown pass from Jeff Kemp to Drew Hill. Mike Lansford in to attempt the extra point with Nolan Cromwell holding. Straight and true. So the Rams come back behind a 57-yard touchdown pass. They trail it now 17-14.
But Jeff Kemp showing quickness, agility, speed, and perhaps a little bit of fear with those big guys chasing him. Right here, gets outside. Drew Hill downfield. The defensive backs come up. Presence of mind to continue to look downfield as he's being hit. Drew Hill makes the catch and then just turns it on. Nobody's going to catch him. He puts the Rams back in this football game.
Keith Willis really put the wood to Jeff Kemp. I don't think Kemp saw the reception, but one of the first persons over to congratulate Jeff Kemp, Vince Ferragamo. 5:55 left in the third period. We'll be back in right foot of Mike Lansford as he gets set to kick off. Todd Spencer back for the Steelers. Spencer at about the 3. Todd Spencer. And he fumbles. There's a man scramble for the ball, and it goes out of bounds, and the Steelers will maintain possession. So Todd Spencer, who fumbled the ball, had it to go out of bounds, and because the Steelers were the last team to have possession, they maintained possession. 1st and 10 at their own 44-yard line.
Todd Spencer shows some speed. The wall is forming outside. Spencer thinks about going in, and this, what's right there, that's the move that gets him by the first wave. He brings it up the field. Here he's trying to evade, hit from behind, coughs up the ball. It's a mad scramble. Watch it here. It's kicked out of bounds. Steelers get it.
1st and 10 at their own 44. A 40-yard kickoff return. Toss back to Elton Beals. Elton Beals up across the 45-yard line. Tackle there made by Leroy Irvin and Reggie Doss. You know, it's really amazing, John, how a big touchdown by the home team and all of a sudden the visiting team can really silence the crowd.
Deafening silence. As a defensive back, you're told when a quarterback's scrambling to stay back, but they don't do that. Steeler defensive backs, Wayne Woodruff and company, get caught right there, the touchdown.
2nd and 8. Ball at the 46-yard line of the Steelers. They lead the Rams by 3, 17-14. Here comes the blitz. Over the head of Louis Lips. Gary Green on the coverage there. And there is a flag on the play.
And you get the feel, Jim, that this Los Angeles Rams team feels that they have a shot at it after that big play.
Defensive holding, number 61.
Blake Wingle again called for a holding. That's his 3rd penalty, his 3rd holding penalty this afternoon. I was thinking, as we talked to John Robinson yesterday, John, he told us, you know, sometimes you really need to win when it's apparent, or not apparent, but when most people think you're going to lose. They did the same thing last week against the Cleveland Browns. You go in, you lose your starting quarterback, similar situation.
He's a motivator, and he believes that adversity can bring out the best in a ball player, and certainly the Rams are facing that right now without their starting quarterback trailing 17-14.
2nd and 18. Inside handoff to Ehrenberg, and he's smothered there by Jim Collins and Greg Meisner.
Early in the game, the Ram defense was sitting back on their heels, letting the Steeler offense bring it to them. Now that's all changed. It's a change in attitude. What they are saying right now, Youngblood, Meisner, and Doss are saying, we're coming after you. Now let's see what you can do.
Greg Meisner, in his 4th year, he played right here at the University of Pittsburgh. A young man who has made major contributions to this Rams defensive unit, and you know he wants to play well in front of the home folks.
How many tickets did he order? Something around 98 tickets he had for this game.
He had to pay for all of them. 3rd and 18. Woodley goes back to pass. The blitz is on. Good protection. Complete to John Stallworth. George Andrews and Mel Owens in on the tackle. The veteran John Stallworth. Good for 24 yards and a 1st down.
And Woodley is a timing quarterback. He throws that ball before the receiver's cut. He's not like a Bradshaw with a real strong, great arm. Here, Stallworth playing as well as he did back in the mid-70s, comes across. Interesting that Nolan Cromwell does not hit him, and he gets back up to make a few extra yards.
The Steelers have the ball 1st and 10. The Ram 40-yard line. And Woodley's back to pass again. Pressure from Meisner. And Mel Owens comes over to make the sack. Good coverage in the secondary by the Rams. Woodley scrambling around, getting away from Meisner, but Mel Owens, number 58. That's the first time that we have heard from Mel Owens this afternoon. 1st-round draft choice from Michigan.
It's the 2nd sack of the afternoon, and that's the kind of pressure. Actually, it was great coverage by Gary Green on Louis Lips that allowed that. You take a look at it again. Here he's chased out of the pocket. He's still looking. You see Lips down there, number 83. Well, he's being bumped around by number 27, Green. Finally, the rush gets to Woodley.
Loss of 3, 2nd and 13 from the Ram 43-yard line. David Woodley, quarterback for the Steelers. Mix up in the backfield, and Woodley manages to pick up a couple of yards. Turned around and looked for Elton Beals. Beals wasn't there. Tackle there made by Nolan Cromwell. So David Woodley trying to maintain and keep this drive going. It'll be 3rd down and about 9.5 yards to go. Pittsburgh on third down conversions, hitting half of them, 4 of 8. Weezy Thompson in now for the Steelers. Woodley goes over the middle, and it looked like his arm was hit right as he tried to release the ball. Number 69, Greg Meisner, in and just making a little disturbance in the backfield. So the Steelers, because of the incompletion, will have to punt.
And again, the Ram defense shuts down the Steeler offense. So the Ram defense is helping to set the tone here, and the offense responded last time with a long touchdown pass.
You saw Woodley there hitting his right arm, indicating that it was hit. Colquitt in to punt. Good high kick. And the ball goes out of bounds at the 10-yard line of the Rams. So that's where the Rams will take over, 1st and 10 from their own 10-yard line. Other scores this afternoon: Tampa Bay in the third quarter trailing Detroit 17-14. New Orleans over San Francisco 20-17 in the fourth period. The Giants leading Washington 14-13 in the fourth quarter.
My goodness, are the Giants actually for real? Whew. And the question is, what happened to Washington?
1st and 10 for the Rams at their own 10-yard line. Jeff Kemp in, replacing Vince Ferragamo, the injured Ferragamo. James McDonald in motion. Hand off to Eric Dickerson. Eric Dickerson picks up a couple of yards before he's tackled there by Ed Nelson. Robin Cole also in on the tackle. So Eric Dickerson having a tough day, struggling to get loose. But the Steelers, who pride themselves on defense, and they always have throughout the years, and particularly when they go up against a great running back, are playing good defense this afternoon. 2nd and 7 for the Rams at their own 13-yard line. Dickerson, the lone setback. And he goes back to pass with, that is Jeff Kemp. Throws it over everyone as he feels pressure. The only person even close is number 31, Donnie Shell. You just saw John Robinson there. You could read his lips. He said, good job, good job.
You see Vince Ferragamo to the left there with the jacket on and the ice pack on his right hand. And that's been the story this afternoon. Vince Ferragamo breaking the pinky on his right hand. He's gone for the day, and who knows how much longer.
Right now, that job belongs to Jeff Kemp, and he has a big job in front of him. As the Rams trail 17-14. Kemp goes back to pass. A draw play to Eric Dickerson. Flag on the play as Dickerson gets across the 15 to about the 16-yard line. John Goodman and David Little in on the tackle.
Offensive holding, decline a penalty, 4th down.
Doug Smith, the center for the Rams, is called for holding. So that means that John Misko will have to come in and punt. Louis Lips back to receive for the Steelers. And this is a spot where Lips can be oh so very dangerous. Good high punt by Misko. Lips at the 44. Louis Lips. Fumble the ball. And after a mad scramble, the Steelers are indicating that they maintain possession, and they do. Eric Williams, number 21, makes the big play for the Steelers.
Remember before, not too long ago, on the kickoff, Todd Spencer breaks it and then coughs it up, and the ball goes out of bounds, and the Steelers dodged the bullet. Here, Lips, with that great first few steps, breaks through the first line of defense, what any good punt returner has to do to be. Right here, he's hit from behind by Gooman. The ball comes loose. Everybody's scrambling for it. It looked like a Ram had it right there for a moment, but it squirts out, and the Steelers recover. What a break for Pittsburgh.
39-yard punt return. Ehrenberg, the ball carrier. Rich Ehrenberg gets down to the Ram 15-yard line. Tackle made by Nolan Cromwell.
Place to play in Pittsburgh. Sold-out crowd. You hear them coming alive.
So the supposing non-existent running game of the Steelers has been a major portion of their offensive attack today. And with that, the rookie, Rich Ehrenberg, has come up with a gallant effort. The end of the exciting third period with the score, the Pittsburgh Steelers 17, the Los Angeles Rams 14. We pause now for a message from your local station. We are in Steeler country, and Three Rivers Stadium is jumping right now as the Steelers open up the fourth quarter on the Rams 15-yard line, leading 17-14. David Woodley at quarterback for Pittsburgh. Handoff to Ehrenberg in the backfield. And after a little bit of a mix-up, Rich Ehrenberg gets down inside the 15-yard line. Tackle made by George Andrews and Carl Eckert.
It's interesting. Last week they had a couple of fumbles between veteran Mike Anderson. And here, just the exchange. Woodley turns one way. Ehrenberg comes right into him. The collision, no gain.
Third down and 1.
Third and about 1. The Steelers have two tight ends now, Benny Cunningham and Chris Woloszewski. Hand off to Ehrenberg. First down and then some. Gary Green in on the tackle for the Rams.
Give credit to Benny Cunningham, Larry Brown, Blake Wingo on that one. They just moved the Ram defensive line back. Ehrenberg makes the first down.
Los Angeles 10-yard line.
Just saw Woodley mention something to Louis Lips as they were coming back into the huddle. Woodley so far in the second half, 3 of 9. First and 10, ball at the 10-yard line. Woodley back to pass. John, we just got through saying that Woodley mentioned something to Louis Lips as they were coming back into the huddle. That's the result.
Well, Lips already had 3 touchdowns for the year. There he gets another one. But the reason he was able to do it so easily is that Gary Green went down on the carpet. He's still down, so that Lips was wide open.
And it looks like the injury is to Green's knee. Now, earlier in the year, I think it was about the first regular season game, Green sustained a knee injury where he twisted his knee. In practice this week, he was complaining, saying that it was a little sore and that he couldn't run on it as well as he would like to. Gary Green, one of the fine cornerbacks in all of professional football, a Pro Bowler for 3 straight years.
Many people talk about him, excuse me, Jim, in the same breath with Lester Hayes and Mike Haynes from the Raiders. He's one of the fine ones. He's limping off the field.
Gary Anderson in to attempt the extra point conversion. And it is good.
But what a time to hurt yourself. Not only is it are you out for the game, Gary Green, but you're also give up a touchdown and put your team behind 24-14. Take a look at this. 3rd game in a row. A little pump fake. Sees he's wide open. See Green on the ground right there. Lips